America is built on legends of freedom, but hidden in its shadows are stories never meant to be told. Tonight, one of those stories will find you.
I got the voicemail in the middle of the night, rain ticking the window like tiny fingernails, and my old laptop wheezing like it was 80 years old. 5 seconds of static. Then a woman whispering, "If you're hearing this, don't say any names, please." Here in Bridge Hollow, they count us by our voices. More static. A pause you could just about touch. Thick as molasses. And then the whisper again. "We only get to stay when we keep quiet." The message landed on my number by accident. My carrier recycled some ancient SIM, and with it came a thin, unlucky thread tied to somebody I'd never met. I didn't delete it. That night, I dreamed there was a long hallway and something calling me from way down at the end. Soft, patient, insisting I answer back. A week later, I was on a straight slice of blacktop in Iowa, cornfields rolling out in green waves as far as a person could point. I passed a sunburned water tower with flaking paint that read BRIDGEHOLLOW, HOMEOFTHEBULLFINCHES. I didn't see any bullfinches, didn't see much of anything, truth be told. Bridge Hollow don't make the tourist maps. Two streets that cross like a crooked plus sign, a Dixie gas station, a barber shop boarded over with sun-warped plywood, a pharmacy that mostly sells dog food and scratch-offs now, and a tired motor court called the Purple Crown. In the middle, a bridge over where the water used to be. There'd been a dam out by the old mill pond. After a bad accident 50-some years back, they drained it. Since then, evenings, a thin shiver of fog climbs out of that dry gully like it remembers water better than folks do. At Linda's diner, the TV was locked on the weather, but someone had turned the sound off. Linda herself, 60 or so, hands that remembered everything they'd ever done, circled to me 3 times without asking what I wanted. Finally, she set down coffee like we'd already discussed it. "Reporter," she said. "How'd you—" "They come here," she said. "The ones who want reasons. Then you sit there and listen to how things are all wrong around here. And you take your notes." She looked past my shoulder at a calendar still stuck on last June. "Go on, record it. While there's still any of us left." I flipped on my little recorder and did my usual. Place, time, CAM1. When I said Linda, she flinched like the door cracked open on a cold night. "We don't say names after dark," she told me, voice low, "and especially not after 10. We say hey or you or mom, maybe neighbor. Superstition? Way to keep breathing." The disappearances started about 3 years back, or so folks said. First, it was the mailman. Just didn't show for his route one morning. At his place, they found a neat stack of shirts, a cup with coffee grounds glued to the bottom, and a dog that wouldn't lift its head from the door for 2 days. Then a woman and a kid intern over at the school office, both gone sometime between lunch and 3, never signed out on a log. Then a whole family. Neighbors argued whether their porch light burned the night before. Nobody heard a scream. No one saw a car pull out. Their papers stayed behind. Money in their accounts, too. In Bridge Hollow, they were pulling the threads out of the people and leaving the cloth of their lives just hanging there. Sheriff from the next county came by, did his duty, snapped the empty fridge, turned a coat on its hook, wrote down a whole lot of nothing, and ran back to where the crimes came with pry bars and broken glass. That evening, a call hit his answering machine, and someone ripped it to 7 copies, uploaded it everywhere, and slowed it down 6 ways from Sunday. Little kid's voice whispering, "Don't say your name after 10. They're calling roll again." Who they were, no one could agree. Everyone had a story, though. Folks held onto their versions like a steering wheel in black ice. I went door to door and listened. Old fellow with a brass mailbox plaque that just said JS told me they were the wind. Wind does roll call like the army, he said. You answer yourself, you step out of line, and that's all she wrote. Girl at the gas station. Should've been 20-something. Swore it started the month they stopped testing the emergency siren at the dam. It rang the kind of note that keeps bad things out, she said. They quit, and it found us. The new pastor, young face, sleeves rolled neat, said it was the spirits of the lowlands, hands stretched up from that dry creek bed. We flooded the old church, he said, and the church flooded back. Linda didn't weigh in, not yet. On the edge of town, the water tower stood on 3 rusted legs, a skinny-kneed spider in the weeds. Wind moaned in its empty belly. I climbed the ladder anyhow, even though my stomach don't like heights. Up top, folks had tied strings to the railing, white and red, like those prayer trees you see in pictures. Most strings had been cut right at the knot, like a blade passed through. I ain't much for charms and tokens. Still, I wrote it down, cut strings on tower rail, siren cap removed, and from down in the gully came a sound like somebody closing 10 doors at once. First thing you notice at night in Bridge Hollow is the quiet, not just no traffic quiet. I mean the kind where sound packed its suitcase and left town, and all that's left are your own footsteps. From 6 to 9 folks talk low. Kids don't hoop it up out back. Linda turned the radio in the diner so soft I wasn't sure it was on. After 10, she said, nobody sits alone. Not a law, just how we do. Then she added, like reading a list she kept meaning to tape on the door, we don't look out the window when somebody knocks. And we don't answer if they call us, especially if it's coming from outside. I had a room at the Purple Crown. Hallway smelled like wet carpet and lemon polish. Gideon Bible in the drawer, bookmark stuck in the wrong place. I didn't open it. While I was setting a mic by the window, someone traced a fingernail down my door. 3 times. On the playback, you can hear it plain as anything. Scray, scra, scra. Who's there? I said. And I knew right then I'd messed up. Silence. Then a voice, real close, clear as glass. It's me. Open up. My own voice. I hate listening to myself on tape. That voice was mine. No mistake. And it was on the wrong side of the door. I killed the light and held my phone to the crack. I played that first voicemail. The woman's whisper. Don't say names. The dark on the other side seemed to swallow it. Whatever was out there, whoever couldn't get purchase on that hush. It slid off like rain on wax paper. After a beat, it left. I didn't sleep. Morning made Bridge Hollow look plain again. Eggs and gas prices in the diner. Linda slid me toast without looking at me and said, You heard it? Yeah. Round here, we call that the repeat, she said. If you repeat, you're gone, she shrugged. Used to be repetition was good, grace over supper, Sunday hymns, holidays the same every year. Now, she let it hang. Go see the pastor. He'll show you the book. The book was thick, white cloth cover, stained along the bottom edge like it had been held over muddy water. Inside were handwritten lists, letters, old clipped headlines. Church memory book, the pastor said, smoothing a page with his palm. The church it belonged to had gone under when they dammed the creek. He pointed to an entry from 1923, the night before they flooded the valley. In the night before the waters came, the old preacher had written in a steady, plain hand, we marched a last time round the church grounds. We spoke the names, ours, our parents', our children's, so the Lord might not forget who lay down under the new lake. And the dark said those names back to us, in our own voices, as though it were an echo. At the hour we supposed God was answering. Now I am persuaded. Something was, but not God. The young pastor looked over his glasses at me. They called to the Lord, he said, and found something else that loves to call back. I asked to photograph the page. He shut the book real gentle. This one ain't for the internet, he said. Then, softer, It does tell you this ain't the first time. You can drain a lake. Echo stays. I talked to anyone who still felt like talking. The kid at the station, name started with a J, and that's as far as I let myself go, showed me a phone video from a porch cam pointed at a driveway. Night, grainy. Man in a blue hoodie climbs out of his car, pats his pockets for keys, glances up. For the barest blink, the light gets a hair brighter. Brighter like a bubble popping. And the man is just gone. Keys and a cornstalk keychain hit the concrete. That was my neighbor, she said. He liked sunsets, didn't care much for people. Then there weren't so many of us anymore, and we learned to care. I asked her about the voices. She nodded. Mom used to say, they call to check if you're here. Like teachers at morning roll. They don't like when you keep mum. But if you bite, you're hooked. Folks say they love memes like kids love candy. Keep 'em in their pockets. Who are they? She gave me a look. What's it change? That night at the Purple Crown, I didn't answer nothing. 10:15, same feeling washed over town. The sound part of the world slid out and left you in the wrapping. Feet in the hall, not shuffling, careful. I tried something else. I wrote my name on a scrap of paper, didn't say it out loud, and flipped it face down. Then I sat and waited, feeling stupid and brave and both too much. At 11:20, I learned what the pastor meant by echo. Way off toward the gully, past the old bridge, something said, "Hey." Soft, like someone polite. Then closer, "Hey." Then right by my door, "Hey," not my name, just a call. I kept quiet. "Hey," it said again, different voice now. "You hear me?" The shadow under the door moved like someone shifting their weight. My hand went to the knob all on its own, same way it goes to the kettle when it sings. I pulled the scrap out of my pocket. Sweaty thumbprint smeared the corner, and I'd read my own name in my head, just in my head, no sound. "Hey," the voice said, kindly as a dentist, "I'm you." At sunup, the kid from the station was gone. I didn't hear it from folks. They don't talk much about it. I heard it from a dog. He sat at the edge of the station lot staring through the glass. Dog scents the empty places first. Inside, a mug, a rag slumped on the floor, the cash screen frozen at $1.07, a pack of gum. By the window, a thick sketch pad she used to draw in nights so she didn't have to speak. On the last page, she'd made a big square with a circle inside it. Then a second circle, a third, a fourth. Little tick marks between, like rungs on a ladder. I didn't get it. Then, Linda gave me coffee again, I saying it wasn't about the coffee. "The longer you stick," she said, "the more they'll want you. You say you don't believe. They believe in everybody." "I'm leaving today," I said, "but tell me how you hang on." She nodded at the door. There, instead of a bell, hung a little paper chime she'd folded from old receipts. "We went to paper," she said. "After 10, we don't talk. We don't say names to one another, and we ain't read the Bible out loud for 2 years. Pastor reads with his eyes. I ding the chime when somebody comes in." She took a breath that had a laugh in it and no joy. Should have done it 20 years ago. We kept this place calmer. She fussed behind the counter a second and set down a gray little radio with a dented corner. "This belonged to Cal," she said. "He used to mind the damn siren. Turned it on every Friday at noon till the thing broke. Said, 'A check's like a prayer. You repeat it or it don't count.' When folks began going missing, he started scanning the band at night. Caught something on tape. She pressed a button. Out of the speaker poured this thin, even tone, not a song, not a station. Studio guys call it blue quiet. The note everything else rides on. On top of it, the faintest little ripples, like the air itself was breathing. 'He's calling,' Linda whispered. 'Listen.' At 20 seconds, a whisper slipped into the note. No words you could pin to the wall, just the feeling of being called. It seemed to come from inside the speaker and also from the window glass, my spoon, my teeth. "You know what Cal called it," she said, clicking it off. "The voice of the underwater town. 'Cause that church down there in the lowlands never did quit service. Walls are mud, echoes in the sky." I meant to head out by noon, but I stuck around. Wanted a shot of the evening fog climbing the gully walls. Sun went pale behind the water tower. Air pulled long strings of cold and hung across the road. Somewhere out on the highway, a semi blew its horn and made that distant sound that hits you in the ribs. I stood on the old bridge. The boards under my boots creaked like they'd be happier being trees again. In a jar by the railing, someone had stuck a votive in it once. Something fluttered. Maybe a moth, maybe the shadow of one. A kid's voice spoke behind me. "Look." I turned. Nobody. "Look here," the voice said. Now it wasn't behind me at all. It was up in the air over the bridge and down in the gully both at once, like the world had learned to talk. I kept my eyes on the ground. At the bottom, between old slabs of concrete, lay 4 circles made of stretched twine, same pattern as the drawing in that sketchbook. One string hung cut, loose as a fishing line in weeds. I remembered the knots on the tower. It hit me. This was a mask. Inside the circle, a name can't leak. Sound runs the ring and comes back where it started. That's how they'd been hanging on. Wind had cut one, or the ones doing the calling had. "Look," the voice said a third time. All 4 circles woke up. Not the twine, the air over them. It puckered like a hand pressed to water. I saw it. I filmed it. And then something tipped my chin up real gentle, the way a mom does when she wants her boy to look her in the eyes. I raised my head. No figures, no faces. Just sky, even as a sheet of gold vinyl, that last clean light before the dark really sets in. On that light, the faintest tremor like a gnat if you try not to see it. The tremor wrung itself into whisper, the whisper into words, and the words into one thing I know better than any other sound. My name. Not said aloud. Written in sound across the sky, like those plain letters that hang out for a count or two, then melt. It did it again, new inflection, like it was trying keys on a ring. Again, again. I clamped my jaw. My fingers dug into the flaking paint on the rail till something tore under a nail. I aimed my eyes down at the circles, at the pattern. I read my name in my head only, clamped right behind my teeth. The tone overhead slackened like a cut string. Somebody sounded disappointed, if air can sound that way. And then I knew I wasn't alone on the bridge. "Let's go," said a voice beside me, soft as a quilt, familiar as a clean apron. "Linda." I turned. No one, just that paper bell. It gave a small, tired ding. I went. I left at first light. The corn rolled like a green lake, and my car like a John boat with a stubborn motor. In the rear view, the water tower didn't look like a spider anymore. It looked like a crane with its head cocked, listening hard. At the crossroads out of town, the road sign pointed at the sky. Someone had scrawled below in ballpoint, "Don't answer after 10 p.m. Under that, pray quietly. Under that, write your name inside the circle. On the way, I played Cal's recording a few times. In my head, I ran the mix, marked where the whisper swelled. If you trust a poor man's spectrum read, the bump is right around 2.17 kilohertz, the kind of tone that raises the little hairs along your forearms. I caught myself leaning in, trying to hear my own name in the noise. I thumbed the power off. That night, in a motel 1 town over, I cut the piece. Bridge Hollow came out lumpy, like a county map. Long stretches of quiet, ragged bites of interviews, night clips, a door scratch, some hallway footsteps, a radio tone, and Linda's voice saying, "We stay while we keep quiet." I tagged the opening with that first voicemail, the woman begging don't say names. I pulled down 2.17 kilohertz, as much as my cheap EQ would let me. I scheduled the premiere for the next evening and warned folks. If you're listening late, maybe turn it down a notch. That was a sound engineer's note, I told myself. Nothing mystical. Protect your headphones. Save your ticker. That's all. Comments lit up quick. Chills. People ran off to work oil fields. That's all. Man, you can tell stories. My granddad swore something like this happened in the Bayou. Too cinematic to be true. And one short one from a brand new account. Handle said NOISE 217. Don't say names. Way down the threads, somebody dumped a long list. Must been 20 words, one under the other. Looked like spaghetti at first. Then my stomach went cold. They were names. American names, Kazakh, Russian, Japanese. Like somebody shook a little address book upside down. On the last line, mine. Lowercase. Common enough name? Could be nothing. Didn't feel like nothing. I didn't sleep much. Next day, Linda wrote me. Don't come back, the message said. It's quiet now. I typed. You okay? I was about to type her name. My fingers stopped. I erased it. Typed you. Sent. Day after that, a local news site over in the next county posted a blurry still. Sheriff seeks help locating owner of roadside diner on Route 6. Photo was fuzzy like the cameraman flinched at the wrong second. But I knew those hands. You know a person by the way their hands hold a plate, even if you ain't seen 'em in years. I shut the lid on the laptop. I pulled a slip of paper with my name on it out of my wallet and lit it over the sink. Part of it didn't catch. The corner without letters. It fell and floated in the tap water like a tiny raft. Most stories like this end with an explanation. This one won't. I don't know what it is. A town that don't take to names? A lake's echo that learned to hunt? Roll call that stole the call? I do know this. A week later, I went back to the water tower without leaving my chair. Just wandered through photos some tourist posted from a lost drone. From up there, you can see the whole town laid flat like a postcard. On the bare dirt by the gully, 4 pale rings. One slit all the way through like a line knife cut by a trolling motor. The other 3 still whole. And up on the tower rail, no strings at all. Either somebody came and untied them, or the strings decided ties don't help. I haven't gone back in person. But sometimes, when the quiet tightens around the house, my gut tightens with it, like the room is tuning to a note only the pipes and your teeth can hear. I do what Bridge Hollow taught me. I write my name on paper. I set the paper in a circle, the circle of a lamp's yellow light on the desk, the circle at the bottom of a coffee cup, the big round track we're all writing without ever saying so, everybody with a name. No need to say it too often. If you're listening at night, remember, we stay while we keep quiet. And don't answer a voice in the hallway if it sounds like yours. Especially not after 10, especially not if it calls you by name. One last thing. I got another voicemail. 5 seconds of static. Same woman whispering. If you're hearing this, don't say names. Here in Bridge Hollow, the pause this time ran longer, like she was looking at someone who just walked in. We get to stay when we write. So I sat there in the dark, and I wrote, while a church that's been mud for half a century kept looking for an altar in the sky. And I thought maybe that's the trick. Don't explain it. Just stay and write.
Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next story about the dark secrets of America.